Journey is an adventure game developed by That Game Company for PlayStation 3. Released in 2012, it became the fastest-selling game on the PlayStation Store. One of the things that makes this game unique is how short it is. The game can be completed in a single play session in under 2 hours. This is unusual for modern console games, as most people demand and expect to get bang for their buck. However, this was a deliberate choice on part of the designers, done for one specific reason. The game is designed so that a person can complete the game with the same person they started playing it with. This seems like a strange thing to point out, but this was a very deliberate decision by the developers. It's not exactly a gameplay mechanic per se. The game is 100% playable, completable, and enjoyable offline or alone if so desired. But in doing so, the player will miss out on one important aspect of the game: camaraderie. Now I know what you're thinking. This isn't the first game where you are expected to work with other players. And you're right. But Journey gives the interaction between players a vastly different character from other co-op games. Most games place other players in one of two positions, as a teammate or as an enemy. The majority of the time, other players are placed in the enemy category. Humans enjoy competition, after all, and what's more fun than defeating another player? Most games that allow other players to be your teammates have rather impersonal ways of putting them on your team. In fact, an actual strategy in a lot of games if you end up with bad teammates is to leave that round, wait a bit, and then re-queue to get a new set. While these games are ostensibly about teamwork, there is very little actually binding the teams together. There's nothing personal in the setup or the execution. This isn't to say that teammates cannot become close, but that is achieved in spite of the game, not encouraged by them. But there are games that intentionally foster camaraderie between teammates, such as in RPGs. However, in an RPG, the player ultimately controls every member of the party, and the party members will always behave in specific ways because, well, they're not real people. While the player can form an attachment to the characters, it's ultimately one-sided. It's more akin to the attachment people feel towards a movie or book character than the attachment felt for another person. While games like the Persona series deliberately have you foster relationships with your party members, you receive rewards for doing so. If you feel that a character does not yield much reward, skipping that character is a legitimate way to minimize time used to maximize your team. Looking at it like that, it's less about working as a team so much as cutting off the loose ends. Even competitionless co-op games frequently have ways to screw over your teammates, like in Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Hey, wow! That's great.
Go team!
That's great! Well, so much for that.
Wait. If you're carrying somebody, then you do it. Oh, you can't do it.
Let's do it.
Out of my way!
Wait, no, it's...
Wow!
Oh, you killed the
Can I please
fish and everything.
spawn?
Oh, when did they move down there?
So what does Journey do differently? Counterintuitively, it does several things. It removes the ability to play the game with pre-existing friends. A random other player appears in the same level as the player. It removes the ability to communicate with the other player. The game does not support voice or text chat. In fact, the game doesn't even offer the name of the other player. They are quite literally a random, unknown stranger. It removes the NPCs from the equation. This game is completely barren of characters to interact with aside from the other player, not counting some dialogueless cutscenes that happen at the end of levels. There is only the environment otherwise. You can't leave your partner to go talk to someone else. The only interaction the players can have between each other is positive. The only way the players can affect the partner is by recharging their scarf, and vice versa. There is no way to throw off the other players. There is no competition between the players. There is just easy companionship. This overall makes interaction with the other player a simplistic relationship of mutual beneficiality. The player is not overwhelmed by the empty environment, the player is not distracted by a wordy or unpleasant partner, and the other player is the only meaningful interaction one can have during the course of the game. Journey is not about leveling up, defeating bosses, or gaining points. The game does not feature any real collectibles, nor is there a way to fight against anything. The only way the player can interact with the world is with a singing action that generates an area of effect. The singing does many things, allowing the player to open doors, ride ribbon creatures, and collect more red ribbons to recharge their floating scarf power. In practice, however, the singing is also used as a form of rudimentary communication. If you get really lucky, I suppose it could be used for Morse code, but let's be honest, most people don't know Morse code off the top of their head. You're pretty unlikely to find someone else who would. As such, when traveling together, players have the general tendency to chirp at each other at random intervals. This shared experience is ultimately one that becomes deeply personal to the player, even though no actual communication has taken place. This becomes especially ingrained as positive when the players are in actual danger. Having your partner chirp at you is the best way to recharge your scarf after being attacked by a guardian, or to locate your partner when you become separated. Thus, when you and your partner get stuck in a blizzard trying to climb a mountain, which is at the end of the game, the fact that almost all players continue to huddle and chirp with each other in a desperate attempt to keep their partner alive, as if desperately huddling together for warmth, is not surprising in the least. When both of you finally give out and fall into the snow, it's a punch in the gut to the players, and it was meant to be. Ultimately, Journey is less like a typical video game. This is not a hero's journey. Journey is akin to the real-life experience of getting lost in a beautiful foreign country where there is no one you can talk to. Instead, you must make use of tone or pantomime in order to get your point across, but no matter where in the world you go, there will be someone willing to try and help you. A meaningful connection can be created without words, without knowing anything about the other person at all. Journey is about the experience. Journey is about, well, the journey. And Journey is about how having even one person with you makes any journey so much more meaningful. And worth it.